Hi everyone. So, as you all know, it's Doctor Who's 60th anniversary coming up. So, I thought throughout the whole of November, I decided to, talk about Doctor Who topics. Now, I understand that a lot of other people are going to be doing it on YouTube now, and it's kind of hard to try and stand out amongst the rest. So, I thought to myself, what type of topic could I talk about? And then I thought, well, Doctor Who science fiction. Is there a science fiction concept that I can talk about? Well, as you know, the multiverse has become a very popular topic in science fiction films, thanks to Marvel and DC. And something I noticed is Doctor Who doesn't really do a lot of multiverse stories. I mean, it has done episodes taking place in alternate universes, but they don't really it doesn't really explore it enough. And I do actually have a good, well, not a good reason, this is just my own personal opinion, but well, if you think about it, Doctor Who doesn't really need to do a multiverse, if you think about it. I mean, as we all know, time travel is a main concept of the show, and they're constantly changing time pretty much every episode, and whenever time gets changed, different things happen, and that's constantly happening throughout every episode. So, yeah, if when you really think about it, Doctor Who doesn't need a multiverse because the universe it's already set in, the universe. God, that's just that's so weird to say, but the universe it's already set in, speaking geek now, e-space, as it's known in the show, that's all it needs. I mean, that is legit all the show needs. It doesn't really need to explore what if scenarios because a what if scenario in Doctor Who can be instantly made through other means. So I understand that Big Finish does multiverse stories taking place in alternate universes, the most well known being the Unbound universe, where David Warner is, may rest in peace, is the third Doctor. I think he's meant to be the third Doctor. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Big Finish lore, only because there's just so much to it. Yeah, I really can't be asked to go through all of it. Saying that, I'm probably not looked into this subject too much. I mean, I did try to do as much research as I can for this, but like I said, it's Doctor Who, it's constantly changing, and that pretty much sums up why I'm bringing this up. Doctor Who doesn't need a multiverse. The universe itself that it's set in is already a multiverse, so it's constantly changing and constantly being rewritten. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there has been episodes that take place in parallel universes and alternate dimensions. Like the two that I can think of off the top of my head is Inferno, which is the third Doctor's episode where I believe he gets trapped on a version of Earth where it's pretty much heading towards destruction. And the second one is, of course, for the Revive series, Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel, where the Doctor, Rose, and Mickey all go into a parallel universe where, of course, Rose's dad's still alive, the Cybermen have a completely different origin. But those are the only ones that I can think of off the top of my head. And I I just think that they're not really necessary in the show itself. I feel like I'm repeating myself now, so changing the subject or big Doctor Who news is pretty much the whole classic series. Well, the and the majority of the classic series and the whole of the new series is on BBC iPlayer or along with a new spin-off, I guess you can call it a spin-off, called Tales from the TARDIS, where seeing these classic Doctors with their companions reuniting with each other, it is heartwarming. I was not expecting it to. The only thing I've got to say is I wasn't expecting them to be pretty much the new footage with these actors. They're kind of just bookends for an overall episode that they talk about. What happens is that two characters appear in a new TARDIS that's called, I believe it's called a Remembering TARDIS. I believe that's what they called it. And one of them just tells a story that involved them in some way. And it pretty much just shows the whole episode. So yeah, all the new footage, that they're all just bookends for a natural episode, which isn't a bad thing. You know, it's like I said, it is nice seeing these characters meet up with each other again, especially for Colin Baker's Sixth Doctor, because I know there's an episode where the Fifth Doctor meets up with Tegan, and the Seventh Doctor meets up with Ace. Now the thing is, we kind of already had that with Power of the Doctor. Only this time, it actually feels like it's their doctors meeting them. When in Power of the Doctor, it was just a hologram taking on their forms. Well, in this one, this feels like an actual proper reunion, and you know, it's heartwarming. It's seeing these people together, but I mostly like it with Colin Baker meeting up with Perry, and Colin Baker's Doctor meeting up with Perry. It's almost like compensating for not giving him much of a reunion in Power of the Doctor, because none of his. Actually, no, tell a lie. There was a companion from the Sixth Doctor's era, Mel. Yeah, she was in Power of the Doctor. She was at the very end, but she was in it. Of course, there was no way to get her incorporated in the actual plot itself, but oh well, what can you do? It is nice to see him with a companion this time, and I really like how they explain why they look older. I mean, for the companions, it's pretty obvious, but for the Doctors, and this is tying back to what I was originally talking about in this video, he mentions that time streams are so different that in some he regenerates and in others he doesn't. And I just think that's a great way of bringing back old characters by simply saying there's a time stream where they never departed or they never regenerated. At the same time, I don't know if I really shouldn't be asking this, but then again, I'm not really a expert in quantum mechanics, quantum mechanics, and that is, are different time streams the same as different universes, or are they just the same universe, just a different timeline? It's that just makes things even more confusing. Yeah, but I'm the episodes. There's only six, I believe. I don't know if they've got more plans, but I'm trying to think who else they can really do. To be honest, but there wasn't one for. I noticed that all the episodes did represent an era of the show, or at least a Doctor, and I noticed that the only classic Doctors not to get represented is, of course, Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor. I mean, that's not really his fault. But if the rumoured spin-off series is going to be true, then maybe that's the reason why. Well, and again, that's not the only reason why, but I I'm actually surprised there wasn't one for the Fourth Doctor. I mean, Tom Baker is still around, and most of his companions are still around as well. I mean, not all of them, obviously, but a good majority of them are. So I'm actually surprised they never did one for Tom Baker's Doctor, unless there's something else being planned, much like the Eighth Doctor. There might be something in the line in the works involving the Fourth Doctor in some way. But I'm trying to think which one was my favourite episode. I mean, there's two in particular that really stand out, and I'm sure I can't be sorry. I'm sure I can't be the only one who thinks this, but Vicky and Stephen meeting up with each other, that that was, it was sweet considering that out of everyone in that series, those two were the oldest, and they're one of the few people that were involved with the original. I want to say original era. That's probably the best way to put it. And just seeing them together, reminiscing about the first Doctor and wondering if he would ever appear in the episode, which, of course. Now, see, the thing is, I honestly thought they were going to bring the first Doctor in that bit at the very end, but of course he would be played by David Bradley. I was honestly expecting him to show up, but okay, spoilers alert. But at the very end, Vicky wishes to see the Doctor again, and while it is off screen, it's highly implied that she does see him again. All we hear is an off-screen little chuckle, well, obviously audio of William Hartnell doing his Doctor chuckle, and Vicky's reaction, and it's sweet, and I know some people can say, why didn't they just bring David Bradley back as the first Doctor? And I think the reason why they didn't go down that route is because it would just be a bit. It seems a bit disrespectful. I'm only not saying David Bradley should never have been casted as the first Doctor. No, I think he's done a great job. I mean, his voice isn't exactly like Hartnell's, but performance-wise, he does bring up his mannerisms and all that. But I think the main reason why they did not bring David Bradley as the first Doctor in this is because these two actors, actress and actor, they've actually worked with William Hartnell, the original Doctor. So I suppose if they brought in someone who was meant to be this person, might have been seen as disrespectful, or it just wouldn't have the same reaction. So, on one hand, I am kind of surprised and slightly disappointed, but on the other hand, I can understand why they didn't do that, and it does make the ending a lot more, bittersweet in some ways. But that's nothing compared to the one with Joe Grant and Clyde Langer. Oh my god. Just seeing someone from the Sarah Jane Adventures again is mind blowing. I honestly did not think I would see Clyde Langer on TV again. That is actually quite a shock. But then again, since it's Russell T Davies doing all this, I shouldn't be surprised. In fact, in many ways, I am kind of happy that he's bringing closure to the Sarah Jane Adventures. And of course, Clyde meets up with Joe in the Remembering TARDIS, and it kind of confirms that sadly Sarah Jane has passed away in the actual Doctor Who universe now, which it's of course it's going to be heartbreaking and tear-jerking because, even to this day, Elizabeth Sladen is really badly missed in the fan community, and yeah, her passing unexpectedly, it was a shock, and like I said, she, she was a talent. She was a talent that is still missed to this very day, and it's just a shame that we never got a proper closure to the Sarah Jane adventures. And yeah, I've looked into it, and all the stories they had planned. God, it was it is a damn shame, and I really hope one day these stories will get told in some way. I know there's been fan attempts to carry on the story, but see, those are that's fan content though, and it's not the same without having an official continuation or an official closure. And in some ways, we did kind of get that in this episode of Tales of the TARDIS. We know what Luke and Rani and Clyde are all doing now. And at the end, again, spoiler alert, but at the end, Joe pretty much encourages Clyde to go find Rani and confess his feelings towards her, which, uh, look, I'm going to be honest, but in my opinion, I never wanted to see Clyde and Rani as a couple. I know that was the plan, but I personally never saw them as couple material. I always thought they were more of a brother and sister. That's the type of vibe I was getting from them. So knowing that the plan was to make them a couple is a bit. I don't know. I'm not with it. Unfortunately, I don't really. I don't support that ship. Unfortunately, but it does have a very heartwarming ending, much like the Vicky and Stephen one, where Joe pretty much gets reunited with her husband. Oh, what was he saying? Oh, see, I'm bad. I remember the characters' names, but I don't remember much of the performers' names. I am so sorry. But yeah, she gets reunited with her husband, and yeah, it will bring a tear to your eye. So, Tales of the TARDIS, I actually do consider it part of the 60th because I'm not expecting any of these people to appear in the actual free specials that are coming up. I just can't see it happening. But if they don't, it doesn't matter because they were involved in this, which I'm going to say is a lot more respectable towards them than what the 50th did. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like the Five-ish Doctors rebooted. I thought that was a funny, nice little, nice little in joke towards, the whole series and the fact that hardly any of the classic Doctors were involved in the 50th. But at the same time, there's a bit of a there is a bit of a feeling of like you know they couldn't get involved in the actual 50th, so they had to do this just to have some form of involvement with it. But at least for the 60th, we don't have to worry about that because, in my opinion, this is the fifth, sixth, and seventh Doctor's contribution to the 60th by appearing in these episodes. So already, the 60th has definitely been a huge improvement over the 50th. But also, I kind of consider Power of the Doctor, even though it wasn't written by Russ T Davies and it had nothing, well, it kind of does, it leads into it, but I do kind of consider Power of the Doctor part of the 60th, almost like a prologue to the 60th. I mean, it is in some ways, but if whatever happens in the three specials coming up, and anything else that happens, I do consider Power of the Doctor part of it. And besides, in many ways, Power of the Doctor is an anniversary special. Just not for Doctor Who, it was for the BBC's Centaur. Oh, I can't say the word, but BBC's 100th anniversary. But yeah, I've kind of lost track on what I was originally talking about. But what can I say? I wanted to talk about Doctor Who, and that's what I'm going to be doing throughout the whole of November. So sit back, relax, and let's see what's going to happen. Bye.